Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Mike Delisio.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Tokaido Duel, or more specifically, the reprint, I guess, of Tokaido Duel from Stonemaier Games. This is really the same game as came out some time ago. A game's got a few years on it now. This one includes a solo mode, which I'll briefly talk about, but we're going to focus here on the the meat and potatoes, which is taking Tokaido, the sort of cozy, very attractive game, and making a version exclusively for two people. That's what we're going to be doing. So let me go ahead and cut to the table here. I'll show you what comes in the box, how the whole thing operates, and we'll be right back. So here we've got the game already, a couple of rounds in progress. I'm going to show you the flow of the game. Before I get to that, let me explain what the players are attempting to do in order to make victory points. The players each control three characters, the Pilgrim, the Merchant, and the Artist, and they are going to be making victory points off of each of those in order to win, of course, with the Pilgrim having two tokens that will both move up, and then the multiplication of those two will be the score you get from them. The Merchant will collect coins, and every time they get to 10, they'll trade in 10 of those for one of these. They go across the bottom, and the number above that is how many victory points they'll have, just the highest. And then the Artist will be flipping over paintings, painting them, and then selling them, or actually giving them away. And once they come off the board, they will reveal a number, ever-increasing number, and then the highest revealed number would be your score for the Artist. And you'll trigger the end of the game by having one of these things, basically. Make it all the way up to its max, okay? So we've already got, like I said, the two players are already gaining a couple of things. We're going to roll the dice. It's going to be the green player's turn right now. We roll these three dice, with each die moving one of the corresponding characters. So I could move the Pilgrim 3 times, I could move the Artist once, or I could move the Merchant once. And you have to move the full amount. Otherwise, you cannot choose that die, and if you have to choose it, then they won't do anything. You'll basically waste that activation. So, the Merchant, the Pilgrim, the one on the outside here, which is this fella, he is going to move in the most traditional way if you've ever played Tokaido, with you choosing that die and then him moving clockwise around the outside of the board, visiting these locations here, with each of them doing something. We'll come back to them in just 1 second. The Artist is this person right here. They're going to be moving in these spaces created by these lines, so these areas. They will move from one to another one to another one like so. And when they're done moving the full amount, they will either give away a painting that they've already revealed if it matches the symbol in that space, and it has to be the first one. They have to do them in order. Or they will reveal paintings equal to the number of characters in that region besides themselves. So if we did this, if I somehow arrived here, there's 1, 2, 3 characters in or touching that region, I would reveal 3 more paintings here. So that's how that one works. And then lastly, we've got the Merchant. The Merchant is going to, it's this character here. They're going to be moving on these brown lines. They go to the inner towns here, which are going to let them draw goodies from a bag. You see over here, this player already has 2 goodies there. Or visiting one of the outside towns, the coastal towns, and then selling that thing that was randomly placed there. These are randomized at the beginning of the game, and that's how much the return will be. So if the purple player with their Merchant is able to make it to this coastal town, they could sell both of these for 3 coins each, making 6 coins, adding those coins to the 4 they've already made, cashing all that in, gaining 1 of these. Okay? And if you went above 10, of course, you just keep the leftover. You do not waste any of that money. So that is how that's going to work. And so perhaps I'm going to go ahead and take the Artist, let's say. I would take the Artist, I'd take that die, I'm going to move my character. I get to move them once because of the symbol, the number there. I'll move them there. And there's only one other character, so I'll reveal my one next painting. like so. Then my opponent would go, perhaps they will take the Pilgrim, and they're going to move 1, 2, 3 spaces. If you land on one of these red temples, then you advance this red track. If you land on one of these green locations, then you advance this track. And the other places would be, if you land on one of the outer towns, the coastal towns, then you just get that money straight up, and you go ahead and give it to the merchant. If you land on this location here, there's a couple of them, then you get this token. This token, while you have it, you can, in an upcoming turn, not the turn you got it, you can cash it back in, put it back on the table, and reactivate your die with moving again and activating again. All right? If the other player lands on one of these while you're still holding on to that, however, they'll take it from you. So you got to make sure you use it. And then lastly, we have these little blue locations which tie to these 3 spots up here. We've set these up randomly at the beginning of the game, and whenever a player lands on one of those, they're going to take whichever one they want from up here and put it on the corresponding character. You'll see down here I already have on my merchant, I've taken one of these, which actually should go on the Pilgrim there. There we go. The Pilgrim has one of these. That entails that when my Pilgrim moves, I'm allowed to move an extra space if I want to. The other side is one fewer space if I want to. There's one for the merchant right here that lets you sell for one more, or the other side lets you store an extra space here and draw more from the bag. Again, these do not flip once you've set them in place. They are on that side for the entirety of the game. I'm just showing you both possibilities. And then lastly, this one for the artist, where you get to reveal an extra painting, or you get to fulfill more paintings and give away more paintings when you are moving, counting locations you've traversed, not just the one where you ended. So that's what that one would be. So there you go. On my turn, I'll take a die. My opponent takes a die. I then take the final one and activate that one. Perhaps I'll go here, grab 2 of these. And then it'll be my opponent's turn. They'll gather all 3 dice. They're going to roll them. They'll take one. I'll take one. They'll take the last. And then we do it again. Starting from, again, me and I roll. If these 3 are all taken and somebody lands on one of these locations that would allow them to claim one, then you take it from your opponent and put it on the corresponding character on your side. And this all continues, like I said, with characters claiming things, selling them, paintings, giving away these paintings once they make it to the corresponding locations. Ultimately, trying to get the highest victory points, because when the end game is triggered, then you will be adding up your score for each of these characters, where it might be, for example, this player would have 4 times 5 for 20 points. This player has 18 points. This player has 14 points, or this character, I should say. Add all 3 of those together. That's my final score. Whoever has the highest score is the winner of the game. So this is a game that both Mike and I actually have played a few years ago, back when it originally came out, or around that time we played it, but we hadn't reviewed it, which I'm kind of 2 minds about, because I feel like I'm glad that I get to cover now the Stonemaier printing of this, which is available and easily accessible. I also unfortunately feel that time has maybe not been the kindest to this game, because there's a lot more dual games, a lot more 2-player games, and they keep getting better, in my opinion. So I don't know how you feel about that, Mike. What do you think about the passage of time on this one?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it certainly is going to inform, I think both of our thoughts on it, just because, as you said, that has become one of the biggest growing parts of board gaming lately, is taking games that already have an existing larger version, so to speak, and now having a dedicated 2-player version. So that's certainly going to play into it. But I will say I'm really glad that this is one that's getting reprinted, because I feel like the original printing of this did not necessarily get the attention that it should have. The publisher, the original publisher, Funforge, was having some real problems at that time that the original release of this came out. And so it was a limited release. I actually got it in Essen, maybe, I don't know, either 2 or 3 years ago, but it seemed like it never got a proper full release. So I'm glad that more people are at least going to have a chance to check this out.
I agree that I'm glad that it is a little more readily available. Now, as far as the game goes, and thematically, I think we'll jump in there first. This is a nice evolution. This is a nice drift on the feel of Tokaido, the first original game, and that sort of going for a cozy stroll across the country thing that the game did in that game with different mechanisms. I think that coziness, if you'll forgive the overused parlance, has translated over to this one now across 3 figures, but all of them doing something relatively easy and relatively cozy.
Yeah, agreed. They kind of still kept the overall feeling of the game that you had in the original, but did make some pretty significant changes to make it more of a head-to-head type of a thing. And some of the decisions, I think, were pretty smart. I'd say mechanically, it's actually got quite a bit more going on than Tokaido does. Tokaido is really just a, kind of a time track game. Move forward, but you can't move backwards. And you're trying to kind of collect things. There's set collection and things along those lines. And you also have elements of that here. But I think it was really interesting, an interesting design decision to say, okay, each player is going to be controlling 3 different characters, and they're all trying to do different things. And you could potentially end the game with any one of the 3 characters kind of maxing out whatever it tries to do. I think that was interesting, and I think that plays well to a game that is going to be more of a head-to-head experience. It is interesting because one of the kind of complaints that you'd hear quite a bit about Tokaido was that, well, it almost doesn't matter who wins. It's a very non-competitive game. You're really just kind of like, it's more about the journey than the destination. And while they still have a little bit of that here, you really are competing more directly in this game for one of those 3 things to kind of trigger the end game.
Yeah, and certainly you see that pronounced the most in the 3 sort of tokens you can take from the center that give the characters a boost. Yeah. When the Pilgrim moves, he moves +1 or -1 if you want him to. Well, if you claim that thing, you now have that ability. If your opponent later on would claim one and they're all taken, they'll take that from you. And that's certainly some interaction there. And then you've also got the token you could claim that will let you basically go again. But if you don't use it by the time your opponent would claim it, you just give it up. You won't get any benefit from that. So I agree with you. There's some interaction there, a little more teeth to the whole thing. Certainly my favorite part of this game is the different ways in which the 3 characters move. That's the cleverest part, in my opinion. You've got the one guy who moves just like Tokaido, but then you have somebody who moves through the island and one that moves in the negative spaces between those lines. That's just clever. It works really well. There's some nice gears within gears there that is fairly straightforward, but feels clever to discover, I suppose.
Yeah, and nice thematic integration amongst those 3 different types of figures, because essentially the Pilgrim is the one that walks around the perimeter of the board, and he's or she is essentially doing what the travelers were doing in Tokaido. They're just walking, and they're kind of experiencing things. And then you've got the artist who's going in, as you put the negative spaces, that's actually a clever way to put it, where they want to be around the most people because they want more people to paint. And then you've got the merchant who's going to be trying to get wares in the center of the board that they can then sell, maybe to the Pilgrim who might be wandering around, so to speak. So some nice thematic integration in that too. And I agree, that's the most clever mechanically part of the game. But I also might probably, that and the dice drafting, I think, is a nice kind of twist to Tokaido that I like, where if you're the active player, amongst the 3 dice that are rolled, you're getting the first and the last, and the other player is getting the middle one. It means that you're interested even on the off turns.
That's funny because that's my least favorite part of the game, I would say. Again, there's not a lot of square footage to this game, folks, right? I mean, there's only a few moving parts. But my least favorite part, to balance out what I just said, is the ratio of rules. And I agree with you that this feels like it might actually have an extra rule or two over Tokaido. The ratio of that to the luck of those dice. You are rolling dice. You have to pick, you'll be drafting them and moving that many spaces. Not up to that many. You're moving that many. It's pretty limiting, and so the choices are fairly obvious. And that's kind of where that balance for me is a little bit askew, where I find all the rules I just had to teach. I had to explain to my opponent using 3 sheets here what all the rules are for all 3 characters moving around, and then we roll and move, for lack of a better term. And there's not a lot of options. Oftentimes, there's an obvious good move. You take that. And that's when you have 3 dice. Once you're below 3, there's not a lot of options. That last die you take, there's usually a very, very obvious way you should tackle that. So I find the game to not quite play itself. I'm not insinuating anything that strong, but it does not have a lot of agency, in my opinion. And that's not substituted by necessary coziness. I think it's just a lack of feeling clever, maybe.
Yeah, I would not argue against the idea that there usually is clearly one die that's going to be very good for you, and so you're like, oh yes, I want that. So yeah, that definitely is going to add an element of randomness into the game, a little bit of a lack of agency that you might like to have. It doesn't bother me as much in this game, and I think it's because it is such a compact thing, right? I mean, you're looking at between 1, 2, or 3 spaces. You can usually make things work, even if it's not optimal. So I don't disagree with you, but it doesn't bother me maybe quite as much as it does you.
Yeah, and that's I feel like a few years ago when I first played this, there were a couple of duel games. There weren't that many, and I liked this a little bit better than revisiting it now. As it is, I do not dislike it. In fact, I'm coming down at a 6 out of 10 on this one. I enjoy it. It's one I would happily recommend to someone that really likes Tokaido and wants to play with just one other person. Not the best way to play Tokaido, in my opinion. Not a great 2-player game. And they don't mind that sort of head-to-head competition, It's one that I think would go over well for folks in that category. But recommending 2-player games right now, especially spin-offs, there's a lot of really good ones out there that I think have more interest, more teeth, are more clever, and give you more bang for your time buck, if you would. So for me, 6 out of 10 for Tokaido Duel.
I like it a bit more than you. I'm coming with a 7.5, and I think it's interesting. The duel or duo or whatever form of the word they tend to take, games that I like the most are the ones that are for the larger games that did not play very well at 2. And so you think about the same designer, 7 Wonders. I never liked it as a 2-player game. Well, then you had 7 Wonders Duel, and wow, that game was a banger, right? Tokaido was another one that I did not play well at 2. As a matter of fact, I just would never play it at 2 players because I didn't think it was a very good 2-player game. I think that this is going to be for people that really are taken by the theme and the aesthetic of Tokaido. And I do think that was a huge part of the appeal of that game. And they want to be able to play it 2 players. And I think that this does that, fills those niches very well. I don't disagree with some of your criticisms. It's definitely not the best duo version of a larger game that I've played, but I do like it. I do think that there are a number of people that were going to be attracted by the theme and the look that hadn't played it before, because it's not very compelling as a two-player game in Tokaido, but I think it is much more here. So 7.5.
Well, there you go, folks, and that's going to be a seal of approval. Before I do skedaddle, I need to remember I said I would mention the solo mode. Mike, you actually haven't played the solo mode, so this falls to me. I've messed with it some. I thought it was okay, folks. I would certainly not get this because you're playing solo mode or you are a solo gamer first. Look, it's in the box when you buy it. Give it a shot. I don't recommend you get this as a solitaire experience first. Get it because you want to play with your significant other. Get it because you love the aesthetic of Tokaido. And then, yes, on that afternoon that they're not interested in playing, give it a try. I did not find it worthy of pursuit or affecting my score in the game. So that's kind of where I'm at. But 7.5, 6, seal of approval, like I said, for Tokaido Duel. And it is available again, folks, from Stonemaier Games. So check it out if this speaks to you. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Mike Delisio.
Enjoy your travels in the countryside.
Hey, thanks for watching another video here on the Dice Tower. We really appreciate you stopping by and checking our things out. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, if you really like what we're doing here at the Dice Tower, then there are different ways to support the Dice Tower. One of those ways is through Patreon. We have links in the description to this video, and we have links to lots of other things we do down there, so definitely check it out. But either way, we're glad you watched us. Tell your friends about the Dice Tower. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell, and I hope you enjoyed this video.